Good evening, members. Good evening, officers. Welcome to our meeting of Cabinet this evening. We've got 24 items on the agenda this evening, so we'll get straight into it. Firstly, do we have any apologies for absence?
Chair, I do have a point of order. No,
you don't have a point of order.
I do indeed.
No, you don't. So let me be really clear with you, right, from the start. Opposition leaders are not members of the Cabinet. You do not have a constitutional right to speak. You are invited to this meeting and you are called to speak at the chair's discretion.
Thank you for confirming democracy.
So I will decide whether or not you or Councillor Barnes or Councillor Alan Ball, if he turns up on behalf of the Wickford Independents, can speak. I will make that decision as we get into the meeting. So you do not have a point of order. I'm going to continue with the meeting, and when we get into the reports, if you indicate to speak and you behave, then you will be called to speak. That is it. You do not need to speak. You can turn your microphone off. No, you can. And if you carry on ignoring the instructions of the chair immediately now, less than a minute into this meeting.
It was just something I wanted to raise before we started.
You don't need to raise anything. You are not a member of the Cabinet. You are here at my discretion.
That's fine.
And I have said to you, if you want to ask questions, indicate in the right way. But you are not going to, no, we are not into the reports, so you're not going to ask a question. You are not going to disrupt this meeting, Councillor Genet. This is a meeting of the Cabinet, and we're going to behave ourselves in this meeting, and we're going to do this in the right way. Do I have any apologies for absence from the clerk?
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Do I have any declarations of interest from members of the committee? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, a member of that dreadful organisation which is thankfully to be abolished, Essex County Council. Thank
you. I'll take the county members on block. Any other members? No. In which case the minutes are the next agenda item. They're on pages 7 to 22. Are there any matters arising from the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of July? No. In which case do I have your agreement that they are a true record? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. Agenda item 4 are the Cabinet member decision records on page 23 to 24. Does any member have any matters arising from the CMDRs? No. Thank you. That is noted. Agenda item number 5, Cabinet member updates. Does any Cabinet member have an update that they wish to provide at this point? Councillor Power.
Sorry, I'm all confused where I am sitting. Just a couple of updates on what's happening, obviously, in my portfolio. So last week we had a Pathways Alternative Options event, which invited young people from across the borough who had just recently got their A-level and their GCSE results and maybe hadn't quite got what they wanted or had changed their mind to come along to a Pathways event where they got to meet with training providers, colleges, universities and different organisations and employers across the borough to help support them in their next steps. It was really successful. We had some really great outcomes. One parent actually has approached me since the event to let me know that her son hadn't quite got the results that they was expecting and therefore hadn't got his place at college. She tried for weeks to contact people at the college to find out her next steps to no avail, but by coming along to the event, she obviously was able to meet somebody face to face and got him signed up for a course which started the following week. So he was in an interview the next day, started the course doing engineering and what he wanted to do the following week. So some really good outcomes from that event and a real success. The next stop for us is the Basildon Skills Show. So on the 1st of October, we have at the Basildon Sporting Village the Basildon Skills Show, which is the largest skills show in South Essex. We're going to have up to 50 employers, training providers, colleges and universities in attendance. It's open to the public from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and we are also helping to bring in schools throughout the day. So I think we have around like 1,000 students coming from across our schools across the borough and external to the borough as well. So we've had schools calling us slightly outside the borough wanting to come to our skills show. So we're able to invite them along and find time for them to come along in the day as well. So that's the 1st of October and it is open to the public. So anybody that wants to come along, whether you're an adult looking for your next opportunity or a young person not quite sure what's going on next, that's from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then the last thing I wanted to mention today was that last week we launched our Elevate Basildon Business Programme. Now, last year we had Basildon Business Boost and we saw over 100 businesses engage with us and get support with access to grants or opportunities to grow their business and work across their peer networks. And this year we're happy that we're able to continue with a Business Boost programme, and it's been rebranded as Elevate Basildon Business. So it's a great opportunity to access advice, support groups, peer groups, and obviously support to access grants and funding as well. It is live on the Basildon Business Leaders website, and it has already had over 20 businesses sign up. So obviously if you are a Basildon business looking to get that support, you're a startup or you're looking to grow your business, or you have concerns about what's going to happen next for your business, please do make sure you sign up and get involved in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Chair. So first of all, the new Members Gateway is nearly ready. This is a simple system that will make it much easier for members to track casework and get faster answers for residents. So training has started with members already, and feedback so far has been really good. Second, we're launching the 5 in 25 dashboard, and this will show in clear numbers how we're doing on the 5 priorities we promised residents, from across the bins to housing, community safety, backing businesses. It will make it much easier to see where we're getting things right and where we need to do more. And finally, our new data system is underway. So in practice, this just means better information in one place, less time chasing, the quicker, more reliable services for residents. And this is about making the council easier to deal with, more open and more focused on what matters to people. And speaking about what really matters to people, I'm pleased to share some good news. The council's Women's Safety Forum is launching a pilot self-defence programme. We're looking for qualified trainers to work with forum members in partnership with a local gym to give members and girls the skills and confidence to protect themselves. And the next Women's Safety Forum will be held on Monday, the 29th of September at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. At the last meeting of Cabinet, I gave an update around the youth service provision taking place across the borough. In the week immediately following the last Cabinet meeting, I met with 20 youth organisations that deliver youth services for young people across the borough to talk around how we can work collaboratively to be able to present a brilliant offer for young people and increase the opportunities available for young people growing up in the borough to make Basildon the best place that it can be to grow up. I'm really pleased with the success of that meeting and the environment that was created for those organisations to be able to speak openly and be able to work together, and the enthusiasm within the room that evening was incredibly strong, so much so that the forum will be meeting again in the next couple of weeks and at several points throughout the year with the next stage of involving young people to be able to shape the youth offer across the borough. Last month, myself and the Deputy Leader attended the opening of Flex Youth Club at Whitmore Way, a brilliant opportunity for young people to engage with highly qualified youth workers in such a safe space across the borough in an area of significant need in Friends. It was an absolute privilege to be able to be there, and I look forward to being able to support Flex Youth Club over the coming weeks and months with the provision that they are offering alongside our other youth organisations. I'll present a fuller update on the Summer of Sport campaign at Council next Thursday, but I think tonight is a good opportunity to wish all the 1,000 runners that are taking part in the half marathon on Sunday the very best of luck, and look forward to seeing all the enthusiasm that's being generated and our residents that are going to be out cheering the runners on Sunday morning. Thank you, Leader.
For being brave enough to, or stupid enough to do that. That's on you. Councillor McGeorge.
Thank you very much. Just to make residents aware, next Thursday, the 18th of September, between 10 and 3, downstairs in the Basildon Centre, we will be holding a resident welfare event. We know that winter is a tough time for a lot of our residents, so we have representatives coming from adult social care, adult community learning, recovery services, discretionary housing payments, council tax recovery teams, outreach and engagement, and rents welfare. So basically, every sort of source that our residents will need to get them through the winter will be available. So I highly encourage anyone who's got any questions to come along next Thursday.
Very good, very good. And the last, sorry, Councillor Smith, go on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just 2 items this month, starting next week. The Together for Safer Community scheme is launching again for this season. It will be in Langdon Hills next week. And what date in Pitsea North West Ward, Councillor Callaghan?
22nd of September.
22nd. And also that we're involved with a grant of £160,000 for Wickford Town Centre to deal with crime and antisocial behaviour problems. It may not appear too high on people's radar about Wickford having crime and antisocial behaviour issues, but in conversation with members from Wickford and residents, there is a particular issue that we are working with the police, and that was part of our conversations we had Monday with our meeting with the police and the borough commander, so district commander they call them out here. Even though we're a borough, they still call us a district. That explains the potholes, Mr. Chairman. But come May 28, that won't be a problem. We'll be back in charge. And I had a very stern conversation, as you're aware, with the district commander about those two white-cap traffic officers deliberately turning a blind eye to people on scooters when that day was meant to have been a day of enforcement to get those scooters, to seize those scooters. Our officers also added that the police have been given fixed penalty notice books as a part of our town centre PS, public safety sectors, public order, PSPO. Yeah, the more letters you add, the confusing it gets. That's why B&Q stick with two. And if you know what those two letters are, tell me, because I don't know. Anyhow, so they're now issuing fixed penalty notices. It started quite low, and we've told them, as you know, Mr. Chairman, 6 is fine, but we want noughts on the end. Because when we get that health hub in the old Debenham site, with 200,000 patients a year, people recovering from day surgery, we need that Basildon town centre safe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor McGowan.
Yeah, just very briefly, one of our most popular services we have reintroduced is coming back a week on Saturday, the Crunch, in 4 locations. The details of where they are, when they are, is 9:30 to 12:30 as usual, on the website and available elsewhere. So I look forward to yet another fantastic success for the Crunch, and as many residents as possible getting involved. And one, as we've all seen, well, all of the Labour members that have engaged with the Crunch have seen, is that it's a really positive experience because a lot of residents help out their neighbours. It's a real community vibe to it, and hopefully we'll see that again a week on Saturday. So Saturday, September the 20th, and maybe we'll see some other councillors other than Labour ones there this time. Thank you,
Councillor McGowan. I think the only other update that I think is worth putting out at this moment in time is the what I would say is the biggest victory I've seen since I've been a councillor since 2012, which was the decision to dismiss the appeal and to say no to the incinerator in Pitsea. That was a monumental win for the residents of Pitsea, particularly the residents of Pitsea North West, who've been fighting for a very, very long time. Rob Hill and some of those other residents who've been fighting for a really, really long time. Many people told us that we didn't stand a chance and that there was no way that we would ever manage to win on behalf of the residents. But a huge thank you to all of those councillors, Councillor Smith for his petition, Councillor Callaghan, Councillor McGowan, Councillor Baker, Councillor Reid, who came along to speak at the appeal in this very chamber, and to all of the residents who came and put across their arguments and their views in a really articulate way. And it clearly worked because the inspector ruled in our favour. So I think that was a really big, big win for the residents. Sadly, none of our MPs turned up, but the councillors for Pitsea did, and they came out in force, and a well done to them for it. Moving on to agenda item number 6 is the cabinet. Do you want to speak? Go on then, go for it. And officers who did an amazing job, Christine. Amazing job.
No, we did nothing, and as a local, I mean, this just shows you the power of residents and members getting involved in the planning process. And this is what we always say, that wouldn't have been so successful without you turning up and residents turning up. And you did everything you should have done. And it was, when that decision came through, it was the work you put into it. And it is empowering to see the fact that inspectors do listen to what residents and members have to say. And I applaud you as an officer here. Thank you very much for the time you spent, and also getting the residents to come and talk, because that was brilliant. And thank you very much, because that success wouldn't be without you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Agenda item number 6 is the Cabinet Work Programme. Does any member have any items for the work programme that they wish to add at this stage? Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Just to get it formally recorded, you're aware of this. This is the request for October's meeting of Cabinet. to have the item in there to deal with face band coverings in the town centre.
Yep, thank you. So that's a consultation launched as part of the any amendment to the PSPO. So that was discussed with the district commander and the guys at the CSP. So we can add that in as well. There are no further items, in which case we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is the TA placement policy. And this one is me, so strap yourselves in. I'm doing a lot of them tonight, apparently. As people are aware, the issue of temporary accommodation remains a huge issue in the borough of Basildon. Nationally, there are around 131,000 households in temporary accommodation as of March this year. That is up nearly 12% on the year previous. In Basildon, we have received nearly 3,000 homelessness approaches, and we have made 839 placements into temporary accommodation. We know, we've discussed this previously, I think you can probably count on one hand how many cabinet meetings we've had where we haven't discussed TA since we formed the administration, that the private rented market in our borough is in a really, really bad place, and we are seeing a lot of people short of what they can afford, to the tune of between £400 and £600 a month, and particularly struggling with LHA levels in our borough, which do not keep up with the private rented market. What is in front of you tonight is building on what we have already sought to do in relation to a TA allocations policy, and a reminder that this did not exist before we came into administration, but we are adopting a zoning model, Zone A, Zone B and Zone C. And I would point out, as I've said a year ago when we discussed this at Cabinet, our priority will always be, where possible, to allocate people into Zone A. That is always our preference, particularly households with critical needs. That's children taking exams, families with children with SEND needs, households with severe medical needs, DA and DV survivors, and also carers. Clearly, it is not always possible to place in borough, and we are in the unfortunate position of having to look further afield. And as I've said before, nobody is comfortable with that, but it is a reality. And if we don't do it, knowing that London boroughs and other boroughs in Essex are doing it to us, then we would be very foolish indeed. There is a clear assessment process which is mapped out in the policy. Thank you to the Housing Scrutiny Committee who have looked at this as well. Clearly, we need to link this policy to a financial plan, because this is causing significant stress to the MTFS, which we will debate later on this evening. But I am hoping that members have had the chance to read it and they can see very clearly what the administration is seeking to do. So I'm going to open this up now for questions, and I'd say to the opposition members, we have a lot on this evening, so what I'm going to do is take your questions in block, and then we'll come back to the Cabinet. So Councillor Barnes, do you have a question on this policy? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just in terms of the zoning model, looking obviously across the three zones, I'm pleased to hear that you've said that Zone A is the preference. My only concern with it would be in terms of when we're putting things into these kind of priority groups, what discretion do we have? Because there will always be cases that fall outside of the criteria. So do officers or even councillors have the ability to influence these decisions within reasonable limits if we feel that the wrong decision is being made based on the criteria provided? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Janay.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this Cabinet has saddled Basildon with nearly £700 million worth of debt in 16 months, yet families are still dumped into bed and breakfasts. Where has the money gone? who has actually benefited from this debt mounting? Because it isn't homeless families, is it?
Okay. Any member of the Cabinet wish to come in or ask questions? No? Do I have to go to school? Yeah, no. Councillor Callaghan.
It was just a quick one. I did think it was a great idea to ensure this policy is reviewed annually in consultation with Cabinet members and around the allocated zones and case law, because we know it's a complex and fast-moving picture. So I want to credit officers for making it, human responsive. I did have a question about where our work around HMOs at the moment, and Article 4 kind of fits with all these corporate policies. It wasn't immediately evident in this item, so I'd just be keen to hear more on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of the zoning model, as the report says, apologies, I'm just trying to pull up a presentation there. So as the zoning model says, each of the households are individually assessed for their needs. And so what the council will take into consideration is health, schooling, safeguarding, employment, transport access, affordability and support network. So that is encapsulated in the policy. I would just suggest that it is not right for a councillor to get involved in that decision. That is an officer's decision based on the discussions that officers are having with residents, and that is right and proper. Obviously, if we are lobbied on behalf of residents and we wish to make representations, then we can do that in the usual way through councillor inquiries. But the decision as to where somebody is placed is an officer decision based on the criteria that is in this report, and they will be assessed against that. So I hope that answers in part your question that you have asked. In relation to £700 million worth of debt, which we've been accused of, I enjoy this question quite a lot because it gives me ample opportunity to explain the facts, which are not always universally used in some of the arguments made by opposition members. This council operates a housing revenue account. We have almost 11,000 council homes in this borough. Now, I have said it before, I will say it again. That therefore leads to a debt of £256 million on the council's balance sheet. If the argument is that in the last 15 months, this administration has purchased 11,000 properties in the council housing stock, and we have therefore run up £256 million of debt, that would be news to me. And I think it would be news to most people, because that isn't true. This council's had a council housing stock since it became Basildon Borough Council back in 1974. That is not news. It's always interesting to me as well that our friends in the Conservative Party often forget where they left the HRA, because during Councillor Schrader's tenure, when he had the housing brief, he added £31 million to the debt whilst he was in charge of it. So on the balance sheet, there is £256 million that is sat in the HRA. It is asset backed. It is linked to £1.8 billion worth of property. So if the argument is we need to clear £256 million off the balance sheet, tell me which council houses you want us to sell. Tell us which council house tenants you want us to boot out of their homes. Again, I'd suggest you shouldn't do that, because you're then going to increase the temporary accommodation problems that this council will face, and that wouldn't be a very good idea. Then we come to the £350 odd million of commercial debt that the council has. Again, this is all asset backed. So we have no unsupported debt on this council, and we have £1.5 billion worth of assets that back it up. So again, if the council needed to, it could dispose of those assets, and it could put itself in a healthier position. The issue is that you may be paying down a mortgage on some of those assets, but it is generating what is called a profit rent for the council. So when you look at the £350 million, it is generating just over £3 million in profit for the council that directly funds the services that we provide. So again, I haven't come up with £350 million in 15 months, Councillor. If you look at the chart that shows you where the money has actually been spent, it has been accumulated since 2010. And I would argue, if you want us to get rid of the £350 million off of the balance sheet, that is a perfectly legitimate position for you and for Reform UK to take. Just tell us which services you are going to cut, because you will have to find an additional £3.1 million a year that you will not have to play with to pay for weekly bin collections, to pay for some of the other stuff. You will also, if you do dispose of those assets and you do clear the debt, you will have to square off with the public why you are handing over assets like the Westgate and like Southgate House to London boroughs so that they can buy those assets and turn them into temporary accommodation for their residents. My advice is don't do that. That would be a huge mistake. This council takes its financial advice from Avison and Young. We have taken every single commercial decision that we have taken is backed up with independent financial advice, either from AY or formerly from Cushman and Wakefield's and DTZ. So again, there is an insurance policy in every single paper that has passed through this council over the last 15 years. So whether it has been a Labour administration or a Tory one, we have had a paper with a insurance policy with independent advice and independent legal advice about mitigations as well, all contained. You might be bored, Councillor. That might be why you're looking at your watch. Strap yourself in. This is going to be a long one. As I was saying, the £700 million is a figure that is used by the opposition, but they miss the fact that of the 700 million, 450 million of that was accumulated on the Conservative Party's watch. Now, how does all of this link into the temporary accommodation? It links in like this. Between 2024 and 2030, if this council carried on with the policy that the Tory administration had left us when we came in, we would be on course to spend £64 million on hotels and bed and breakfasts. Now, I didn't think that was a particularly good use of taxpayers' money. So in the end, what we decided to do was to create a ceiling, a borrowing ceiling. So we took a decision at full council, which the Tories abstained on, so they didn't vote against it. We took a decision to increase the council's debt level up to £85 million. That is part of the 700 million that you have referenced. That £85 million has helped us to acquire assets around the borough, like the Row store in Billericay, which is in Zone A, in Borough, and some of the other assets that we've acquired over the last 12 months as well. That means that over the course of the next few years, we will not be paying dead money to hoteliers and bed and breakfasts. We will be paying off debt against assets that the council owns. If the council then decides that it wants to sell those assets, it recovers its money. It may possibly even, depending on what the market looks like, make a profit. So you have to decide, Councillor, whether or not you think it is in the best financial interest of the council to pay £64 million of dead money, or arguably reduce that as close to zero as possible between now and 2030. And that is what this administration has chosen to do, to try and get the money back for the taxpayer. It won't happen quickly. It won't happen overnight, but the idea is that by 2030, we will be in a stronger position for it. I have always said, and I maintain it again tonight, I have been to the hotels and the bed and breakfasts where our residents are living. I am due to go back there in a couple of weeks' time as well. It is horrendous. It's not a laughing matter. It's horrendous, the conditions that they're living in. And they are there 9 times out of 10 through no fault of their own. They've been evicted from their home that they have been privately renting, or they've ended up in a situation where their mortgages become completely unpayable for them and their family finances. We need to find a way as quickly as possible to get them out of those hotels and bed and breakfasts, back into the borough and into suitable accommodation. What you have got in front of you is the policy. What you have seen in the finances is the financial strategy. And I would argue that if Council is minded tonight through the Cabinet to adopt this, it is another step on the way to helping those families get back into this borough and get out, in the first instance, of hotel rooms where they're sat living with mum and dad in a hotel room with their 2 teenage kids, which is a horrendous place for all of them to be. And that is what we are doing tonight. Does any member of the Cabinet have any other questions on this policy? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to take this opportunity over the last 60 months to thank you for the leadership that you've shown in being able to support those most vulnerable in our communities. Like yourself, I've met and worked with residents that are spending their time in temporary accommodation. It is not a nice environment for them to be in, and the compassion that's been shown by this council to be able to treat those residents with the dignity that they deserve and being able to support them as far as we possibly can is particularly important, whether that's through going out visiting, listening to those residents, whether that's through organising the Christmas campaign that we did last year, the long-term support that we need to be able to provide. And we cannot underestimate the challenges that are being faced for those individuals and the long-term challenges that they will face as a result of being in temporary accommodation going forward. As Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, I'm particularly pleased to be able to see that we've focused on supporting those that are going through their exam periods and trying as best we can to maintain a strong education focus for children and young people at the time that they need it most within Zone A. Ultimately, as you say quite rightly, that we need to be able to ensure that as many families and as many of those individuals that are affected by temporary accommodation are supported in Zone A as possible, but it's also important that we retain the other criteria as well. There is more work to be able to do, there is more work to be able to follow, but I think this is a really important start for us to be able to continue the support that we've shown over the last 16 months to be able to support those most vulnerable in our communities. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Thank you, members. The recommendation is on page 31. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. Agenda item number 8 is the selective licensing of the private sector housing model. In Councillor Brown's absence, I'll move this one this evening. As we know, Basildon has a growing private rented sector. Concerns remain, however, about poor standards, about antisocial behaviour and around the high turnover in certain areas. The selective licensing is a legal tool that is given to councils under the Housing Act to allow councils to require landlords in a defined area to be licensed, and that will help improve standards and the local environment. We have the Renters' Rights Bill, which is moving through Parliament at the moment to abolish the Section 21 no-fault evictions and also to go further in some of the steps it gives councils under the licensing model as well. So far, officers have collated multiple data sets to map out where we have concentrations of private rented sector homes. That has been externally validated, confirming the model. Their review has concluded that the 20% threshold for PRS, which is what is needed in the scheme, is met in several areas. We have been learning and taking advice from what happened in some of our neighbouring London boroughs who've implemented this successfully. We're going to be undertaking some next steps around surveys to validate the modelling against what is actually going on the ground. And we're going to look at some external analysis of some of the secondary qualifying criteria, which is around things like ASB, around waste deprivation, etc. And then from there, we will be looking to go out to a public consultation on the licensing model, and then from there, we will hopefully implement this scheme in 2026 as well. So obviously, we spend a lot of time as a council talking about the rights and the protections of our council housing tenants. We obviously talk a lot about people who want to be homeowners, and when we're building houses in the borough, I think it's also critically important, particularly as we see more PRS flats being built across our town centre and in other town centres as well. It is critically important that we are also giving a voice and protections to those people in the private rented market as well. Opposition members, Councillor Barnes, do you have any points on this?
I just wanted to ask with regards to the Renters' Rights Bill, which is coming down the road. I can see that there's a line in the report that refers to it, but could you just expand on that and tell us a little bit more about what provisions have been made, given that puts additional obligations on private landlords and indeed the council as a social landlord? Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Janae.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this licensing scheme doesn't improve housing. It just pushes up rents. So why punish tenants instead of tackling rogue landlords head on?
Okay. Any... Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I take a contrary view to the view just heard. What we see up and down this borough and in other boroughs too is hard-nosed landlords exploiting properties they've bought, typically ex-council, to stack and pack. I have the house in my ward. I have tried to deal with it over the years, but they stay just below that planning threshold. They know when the guys are at work, that's the time officers will come round and do a door knock. What we're seeking here tonight is not make life easy for the hard-nosed landlords. If they wish to stack and pack and cross that threshold to require a planning permission, then action can be taken. And in that case, there is a multitude of vans and cars parked in a residential street that wasn't built as a mini car park, all because their hard-nosed landlord has got them a job with an hard-nosed boss who wants to save business rates by not having the vans in the depot overnight. And equally, by having these landlord inspections of rogue landlords, how many of them complain about mould and other misrepair issues? We can take action to protect these people, especially we've seen the damage of black mould and other such things. This is about protecting people who are at the bottom rung of the housing ladder and making some very hard-nosed people quite well off. So this is a positive step. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I do welcome this scheme, and I would just like to say that I'm happy to work with officers as part of my engagement portfolio to make sure we have proper communication with residents before we start kind of door knocking and asking them questions. We're doing good work to try and reconnect with a lot of our residents that don't feel that trust. You know, we've had a relationship that's been held by an external contractor over the last decade. We really need to repair that relationship, and I think just kind of showing up and knocking on doors without any prior notice would be an adverse effect. So yeah, happy to make sure that comms plan is well expanded in advance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? No? The question that I was asked about what the Renters' Rights Bill will do, so in addition to abolishing the Section 21 no-fault evictions, it will also create a PRS landlord ombudsman, introduce a decent home standard, something that Gordon Brown introduced for council housing, which was then torn up by the last Conservative government, which is why we've ended up in the situation we're in now, with so many of our homes falling into disrepair. And it will also expand enforcement powers for councils. So if you are a rogue landlord, or if you are a landlord that doesn't want to undertake the renovations, the necessary renovations to keep your tenants safe and healthy in your properties, then of course I suspect you're not going to like the Selective or the Renters' Rights Bill. But if you are a good landlord and you are doing the right things, then you should have nothing to fear from this. In terms of the pushing up of rents, again, the same rules apply. The rogue landlords will do it. The good landlords will want to treat their tenants fairly. But if you want to be on the side of rogue landlords, then of course being against the Renters' Rights Bill will be a good way to show that. The recommendations are on pages 53 and 54. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. Agenda item number 9 is the Basildon Town Centre Security Audit and Plan. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the real core of it is on page 71, and I'll just quickly skip through this. To enhance public safety and reduce crime through targeted interventions in high risk and underused areas. Support the success of physical regeneration projects by running the town centre, ensuring the town centre is perceived as safe, accessible and welcoming. Improving lighting and visibility across key pedestrian routes, underpass and public spaces to deter antisocial behaviour, expand CCTV coverage to priority zones, including Marks and Spencers, and key pedestrian corridors with potential for third-party monitoring, support the development of a thriving nighttime economy by creating a secure environment that encourages evening activity and long dwell times, align safety measures with the town centre master plan, ensuring a coordinated approach to regeneration and placemaking, foster community confidence and civic pride through visible improvements and inclusive public realm enhancements, and maintain the community safety wardens to provide visible, reassuring presence in the town centre, deter antisocial behaviour, and support the enforcement of public space protection orders. That just skips through, in essence, what this is all about. But when it comes to town centre regenerations, we're quite blessed as a shopping centre in the town centre. We've seen the changes the internet has caused to high streets, where traders are closing store after store after store and say, go out of town, go online. We have this new facility opening up in the old Debenham site to do day or surgery and private stuff for people who've got the cash to splash on them sort of things. And when I met with them 2 Fridays ago, they spoke about 200,000 patients visiting every single year. Now, for town centre regeneration, that's like striking gold in the desert. It's brilliant. So he's very, and when I spoke with them, they want to have further meetings with myself with regards to town centre security, because as I said earlier this evening, if you've had a cataracts operation or other day surgery, you don't want to be run over by some wally on a scooter while a traffic cop's standing in the town centre doing diddly squat. So that's why we're very firm on this issue. And I think this is very important, because if we can get these issues right, that day surgery opens in Debenhams, then it will start attracting other businesses. Because if we've got the footfall caused by this private NHS day surgery place, that you yourself, Mr. Chairman, obtain the funding for by speaking to the right person in Whitehall, and I'm sure you'll elaborate that later on when you have the opportunity, that it will help to kick-start the regeneration. But we must get the security and the perception of security in our town centre to what it should be. Everybody seems to think if you drop a cigarette in, that's the only time anything will happen to you in Basildon. It should be if you shoplift, do any sort of crime, you get your collar felt every single time. Because if people feel that's how our town centre is safe and secure, that will attract other businesses back to the town, get that vibe, put Basildon back where it should be again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Barnes, do you have a question? Councillor Junaid, do you have a question?
Thank you very much, Chair. So, Chair, you can't even guarantee basic standards of behaviour inside this building. If councillors are being harassed and abused and mocked here, why should residents believe your security plan will make the town centre safe again? Thank you.
Okay, I don't think we're going to go there. Councillor McGeorge.
Thank you very much. This is something that we started when safety was in my portfolio, and this just goes to prove that we have spoken to residents, we have listened to their concerns, and we are acting on that. So I think this is a fantastic piece of work, and anything we can do to make the residents feel safer, encourage more businesses to open at night time for our economy is a fantastic thing.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. As well as being a Cabinet member, I have a privilege of being a St Martin's ward councillor, so the amount of times that I've been out speaking to residents where they've raised security as their number one concern is significant. And we as a council have the ability to be able to respond to that, and tonight we're able to demonstrate that we're responding to those concerns for those residents in St Martin's and putting their safety first. The visible difference that we've seen through community wardens, that's something we introduced previously when you were previously Leader during 2019 to 2021, and again now, is something that makes residents feel safer, it protects the environment, protects them and puts them first. The visible differences that Councillor Smith was talking through with the increased lighting is something that also increases safety for residents. There is no price that we should be able to put on safety. It's the first most important duty of this council is to be able to protect our residents and being able to put their safety first. And tonight we're able to demonstrate that and show that Basildon Town Centre is a welcoming place, it's an inclusive place, and it's a place that our residents should be proud of. And as St Martin's Ward Councillor, I thank you for all the work that you've done and look forward to working with you to seeing this come to fruition.
Absolutely. Councillor Power.
Thank you. I think obviously, as well as obviously the safety of the town centre, some of these interventions and opportunities we're taking here will help instill pride in our community and within the town centre, using things like our hoarding and bringing in markets and coffee carts and activity in the town centre makes it somewhere that people are happy to go and happy to be, which in turn makes it feel safer. You know, the hoarding, and we have a lot of empty units across the town centre, a lot of building work happening at the moment, and it can obviously be seen that it's run down and needs work doing to it. But by bringing the hoarding and sort of showing our future plans and the pride and the history and the future of Basildon, by using that hoarding, will bring a bit of pride and also a little bit of an understanding of what is actually happening. We aren't just sitting still and allowing our town to fall to pieces. We are continuing to put work and effort and regeneration into this town and taking a bit of pride and ownership over what we need to do in this town centre and across the rest of the borough. So a lot of these interventions, yes, instill security into the town centre, but they also instill a lot of pride and community.
Thank you. Any other member? Pick.
Thank you. I just wanted to say as well, this is really welcome because hearing from the Women's Forum, you know, it's a statistic that hasn't really changed in the last few months. 1 in 4 women locally report feeling unsafe in the town centre. You know, a lot of dads wouldn't send their daughters to the town centre after dark. You know, that is something that we really need to hear from residents, and I think showing them progress through some of these quick wins. And, you know, I like the idea of the graphic installations, because it provides light and a bit of creativity, as well as telling the story through some of the signage that Councillor Power alluded to. So I think that it really just shows that we're taking action in the short term with a long-term gain of hopefully improving safety in a real term for people. So thank you for your work on that.
Thank you. Look, weird if I was questioning the policy as the person who tabled it. Now I can put my questions into you, Mr. Chairman. First off, it shouldn't just be St Martin's report, as said on page 69. It should be Nevermain as well for Basildon train station, and obviously the facts in Cherrydown. While we was in opposition, we had problems with properties being used by ladies of, well, pimps, to force ladies to work as ladies as the knights, to put it nicely. And we had some success with the police and having action taken. So the previous item, when that is passed, that's a key part of town centre safety, that the residents were complaining that creepy people was hanging around Cherrydown when people was coming out of the Basildon train station to walk back to Kingswood, that there was these perverts trying to get into the flats. But thankfully with the police we got that solved at the time. So we should include Nevermain, because we can't treat one part of the town centre, we have to do the whole part. And it would be remiss of me, not as a Nevermain councillor, to mention that. The second thing, in the statement I gave, and it's a suggestion to you, Mr. Chairman, as the leader, with something else you can stick on Councillor McGeorge's plate, as it does dovetail quite nicely. In here I mentioned about improving lighting, and then we get to key pedestrian routes and underpasses. Now, when we was in administration before, I worked on that policy of the Purple Pound. Now, the problem we had first off was Essex County Council, because they're best pals, best friends, best bros, Ringway Jacobs, the company Don't Fix Our Potholes in Basildon, objected to using updates that the local highways panel at Essex could have funded, but they was just, no, you can't put it in, cannot put it in. These gadgets that would connect with a smartphone, so if you had any visibility issue or hearing issue, you could press a button on your smartphone and it would talk to that pedestrian crossing, so that person would get an alert, however it would suit their disability, so they knew it was safe to cross and there was a green man. But dear old Essex County Council didn't want to upset Ringway Jacobs and killed it off. Well, the government is now killing off Essex County Council, thank God. So I think we need, under your leadership, to relaunch the Purple Pound project in readiness for unitarisation. And I didn't have to say tonight, but I think if Councillor McGeorge didn't object, because as she takes care of older people, they would also benefit from the Purple Pound project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. It is definitely something that could be taken forward. I think, look, on this, there's a couple of points that I would raise. Firstly, I have been vocal about it, and I will be again, that I believe that Essex Police must do better. That it cannot possibly be up to the taxpayer to keep funding all of the improvements. we have begun the conversations with the new district commander about the way in which Essex Police are organising their shift patterns. And I'm hopeful that that might lead to greater success. What I have asked and what I want to see is not percentages of crime going up or down, because that doesn't really mean anything anymore to Joe Public. I want to see the number of arrests made in this town centre. I want to see the number of prosecutions, and I want to see what sentencing looks like as well. And I'm hopeful that we will get those statistics in the not too distant future. I also think it is incumbent upon some of those retailers to start investing in security as well. Again, it cannot be for the Basildon taxpayer to keep picking up the tab for security guards to be keeping the products and the profits safe of a lot of our high street retailers when it's clear that they are not investing in security in their shops. So that is definitely something that needs to happen. I personally think we need to have a much greater coordinated security plan across the town centre. If you look at the Eastgate shopping centre, businesses in there are asked to pay service charges, and if they pay those service charges, that money is then used to fund security guards. Well, we could potentially pool our money together and we could get greater bang for our buck by doing that. You're absolutely right, Councillor Smith, in terms of the impact that the hospital will add. And I know that there is a lot of doom and gloom, but I think we should be a little bit more positive as well about the town centre. The development that is currently underway, a £170 million privately funded development in the heart of our town centre for 492 new build-to-rent homes, 13,000 square foot of commercial space, a new hotel, key worker housing, all going on in and around the west end of our town and into the Westgate. That is a really positive thing for the council. Obviously, the extended CCTV will be good. The improved lighting in the underpasses will be good. But I think critically, what we see from evidence and what we see all over the country is safety in numbers. And so the advent of the hospital in the Eastgate, with the 200,000 footfall that has been described, will help to boost the number of people coming through our town centre at all different hours of the night. The arena, which we will debate later on, has 300,000 people projected to come through our town centre each year. That's 500,000 more people coming through our town centre. Now watch how quickly retailers start to get interested in Basildon again when there's 500,000 people coming through our town centre. We might even get ourselves a Lush if we were so minded. We might get an Adidas or a Nike, who knows. Those things might actually be delivered if we have 500,000 more people every single week, plus an Audi, plus some of the other interventions we are making. Without the stuff that we're doing on the wider regeneration, we will not see the kind of footfall that we are hoping to see that will lead to that safety in numbers. BTCM, how many times I'm going to say it, but it will come into Basildon Council's ownership sooner rather than later. Officers looking at each other. We will get that breakthrough and it will come to us, but we shouldn't underestimate. Eastgate is doing incredibly well right now. So the numbers in the Eastgate are improving. It's not helped by the ASB. It's not helped by the lack of or perceived lack of intervention from the police. So that is something we need to address. But it is doing well. All the retailers, I'm told, in the Eastgate are doing really, really well. Profits are up. So hopefully that will lead to greater revenues, and that will lead to us being in a stronger position to entice people into our town centre. And I think all of this is critical when we think about the interventions that the council is taking on things like Christmas, because it was this administration that brought Christmas back last year. And we'll be doing it again this year, only we'll be doing it even bigger and even better. So that will be a big boost to our retailers. That will be a big boost to get people in the town centre. And we need to use that as an opportunity to show people that, yes, number one, the town is getting safer and that you can walk in and out of the town and get around the town safer. But equally, we need to use it as an opportunity to tell the story of what is about to happen. Some really, really exciting things. And if you think back to when the fireworks went off in November last year, to now looking at what's going on with the demolition and what may or may not happen subject to planning with the Westgate, that's really, really exciting. And then if you think about Christmas 2026, when we start to think about what we might be able to offer from a cultural and leisure side of things, that also makes things very, very exciting as well. So it is good, it's going in the right direction. I hope the public can see that the council is prepared to put their money into it, and of course we will take forward the proposal to reignite the Purple Pound issue, and Councillor McGeorge, I'm sure, will take that forward off the back of this meeting. Members, the recommendations for this are on page 70. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. Agenda item number 10 is the Craylands South Regeneration Strategy. In partnership with Homes England and Swan, as they were, now Sanctuary, the council had an existing development agreement in place to deliver estate regeneration in Craylands. The expectation of the south phase of Craylands was for the developer to deliver 209 homes of mixed tenures. However, in August of 2024, the developer informed the council that the south phase of the estate regeneration was no longer considered viable, and so they executed their right to remove the south-faced regen from the development agreement. I want to reiterate, we have huge sympathy for the residents who are on the Craylands estate. This has gone on for far, far too long. I think we might be approaching a quarter of a century that this whole Craylands regeneration, estate regeneration scheme has been kicking around, and it serves to prove just how difficult estate regeneration projects are, thanks to the right to buy and some of those other difficulties that mean it's hard to get full ownership, full CPO powers. The council is committed to delivering the regeneration of the Craylands South face, however, and we're going to continue to engage with Homes England to look at how we can explore options to progress it. The paper in front of Cabinet tonight sets out our strategy to do that and the recommendations for endorsement. The council has put forward a bid to Homes England under the Council House Building Support Fund, and that fund is primarily structured around providing support to fund additional professional support for the council so that we can do a master plan of the area and that we can start to make things happen. We're going to be looking at the financial modelling, the stock review, to identify how we can take this forward. And the funding, as I say, will enable that master plan, but also identify areas to retain planned maintenance and areas that we can bring up to standard. For those residents who are living on their estate at the moment, I would just say, because I know Councillor Brown has been meeting with some of those residents, we appreciate how frustrating this is. Nobody wanted the developer to walk away last year. And for a development and a regen on this size and scale, it is clear that we will require the support of Homes England and other grant funding opportunities. We do have a requirement to make our council properties and the properties there for TA safe, so we will still have to undertake planned works as part of that essential work to make those properties safe and compliant. So that will be going on. But the long-term or the medium and long-term strategy is, as laid out in this report, to start that master planning as soon as possible to get that funding in place and to take this forward as we go. So, opposition members, Councillor Barnes, do you have a question on this one?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm not sure criticising the right to buy is necessarily wise, given the number of Basildon residents who benefited from that scheme and still do to this day, given the fact that they were able to own their own homes and sell them on. But leaving that aside, I think the obvious question that rises from this one is the developers walked away saying it isn't viable. So what do you feel has changed?
Councillor Genet.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would just like to reiterate what Councillor Barnes just said there, but also add in, why should we trust you not to repeat the same disaster all over again? Okay, so why should residents not trust you not to repeat the same disaster all over again? As in waste another load of millions of pounds. Thank you.
I mean, I didn't waste the last lot because I wasn't here, but all right, okay. Any, Councillor Smith?
Right, just notice, I better declare an interest, page 82. I live in one of the estates that are mentioned here, A2A, so just declare an interest, but I own my own property, and the bit I live in looks quite shipshape. It does. Especially your garden. Oh yes, very much so. Right, I've got a question to ask, because Langdon Hills comes into my division. Could we have the officer explain a bit more about this? Because we know, again, Essex County Council's dear beloved friends, Ringway Jacobs, they're refusing to repair damaged brick walls, they just stick cones. There's one that's been left for 5 years, and they keep saying low priority, cosmetic default. Hope they remember those walls, God forbid if it goes to a coroner's court. But it'd be interesting because people on that estate do get a bit worried, and so a bit of reassurance and what's actually on the table is helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Tizard, do you want to come in?
Yeah, so we have undertaken structural surveys in Langdon Hills, as you're probably aware, Councillor. There are issues with the design and the condition of those properties. You're aware of the complicated ownership between Essex, the council, and you know there have been issues with the district heating system. It is getting old, shall we say. And we will be in contact with you about the plan for Langdon Hills as well as those other estates. There's a lot of work to do. We can't do it on our own. We're a small council with a lot of property problems due to the age and the condition. But yeah, Langdon Hills is there's part of it which, as you know, is, for want of a better term, falling down the hill slowly, which is where a lot of the problems are coming from. But as always, report any issues, especially around walls, straight to the council, and we will look at them straight away and make safe.
I do to Essex County Council, and there's two stock phrases: low priority, cosmetic default.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Callaghan?
I just want to say that it would be really welcome to bring this kind of regeneration strategy to Chalverdon and Felmore's in Pitsea North West, and I would just like to ask for some consideration about the wooden structures that are dotted through the estates, if they could be included, removed, or kind of something done with them. I've just tried to look at what they're called, and I don't think there is a word I know, but I know that they've been there for years. Whatever purpose they had is now gone, and they might actually be homes for rats and old cabling at the moment, so it'd be great to get rid of them. Thank you.
Do it. Yeah, let's do that. Councillor McGeorge is declaring that she lives on one of those estates. Do you want to say that so that I've not said that for you, because that might get clipped out?
No, you took my words out of my mouth. And just to declare that, as said, I do live on one of the estates in the recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Couple of points there. One was on the viability. Ms Lyons, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, the scheme was walked away by Swan and obviously then Sanctuary over the viability of the scheme. In terms of us working now, obviously we will be working with Homes England on additionality. So for every additional home we bring forward in terms of social housing, we get additional funding for. So the viability is difficult for us because land values are very low in that area, but that's the reason why we'll be working with Homes England on trying to deliver that. And this is why it's come at a good time in terms of the future of the borough in terms of its growth, because also we can work with developers on trying to look at possibilities of off-siting some affordable housing to allow for regeneration in these areas.
Thank you. The only other point I would make is obviously I appreciate that this is frustrating, and particularly if you live in the south phase of the Craylands regeneration. But I do think we do also have to give some credit for the fact that in the other phases that have been developed, the council has done a really good job, and Swan as did a really good job at regenerating that part of the borough. and the properties in and around Craylands that are part of that regeneration are really, really good, and they're of a high standard, and the residents who are living there I think, have got a better deal than they did from the maisonettes that are there now. So if we can work with Homes England, plug those gaps and get ourselves into a good position with a developer to be able to build out the south phase, then I think hopefully the residents in Craylands might have a bright future with better quality accommodation coming down the tracks. If there's no further questions, then the recommendations for this are on page 82. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. The next one, agenda item number 11. Adele's got away with it tonight. This is the repairs and maintenance contract. So the council's current 10-year housing repairs contract with Morgan Sindall ends in June 2026. I would like to place on record my thanks to all of the staff and contractors from Morgan Sindall for their work over the course of the last 9 years. The council is being asked tonight to formally give notice that it will not renew the contract in June of next year. The contract, as members know, covers repairs, planned works, voids, gas servicing, retrofit and the decarbonisation programmes in our council housing. It is also worth remembering that the rising costs and the increased demand in these properties means that the council could breach its £500 million cap if we were to extend this contract. So the council needs to look at future delivery options now. So we are asked tonight to take a look at the programme, the transition programme, which is going to be laid out before members at our next meeting, and we will come back to ensure that we have future services that are safe, compliant, responsive and better aligned with residents' needs. And I think it is fair to say that the council will look, because of where we are with local government reorganisation and where we are in terms of agreements with new councils around contracts, etc., we will look for an interim arrangement. And as soon as the Secretary of State gives us a view as to which way he is going to go with LGR, we will be in a position to immediately start negotiations with whichever council we are going to be forming the new authority with, to start looking at how we might procure a longer term solution. But I do envisage that this will be a mix of both procured suppliers to come and work with the council, particularly around gas compliance, voids, planned works, and a mix of in-house minor works and repairs teams as well. So that sets out the position of where we are. I'll take the opposition members now. So Councillor Barnes, do you wish to speak on this one? Go on in.
Well, you have touched on it actually, the point I was going to make, which is around obviously the LGR and the point around the interim arrangements. Can you give us a little bit more detail around that? Because potentially, in my experience, interim arrangements can be quite expensive. And what was the rationale behind an alternative interim arrangement rather than trying to work with the existing provider for the brief period of time we have left?
Thank you. Councillor Genet, do you have a question?
No, thank you, Chair. I've heard everything I need to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Members? Councillor Smith?
Thank you. There comes a point when you have to stop whipping a dead horse. So when we came back into administration, I had the privilege of trying to lick this lot back into shape. There were some minor improvements around the edges. The outstanding housing repairs were £4,500 a month. We got 2,000 off that number to 2,500. But still, after 15 months, they are treating our tenants' homes like National Trust houses. They just like visiting, having cups of tea, going, oh yeah, there's an hole in your roof. Yeah, it's a crate in your garden. Yeah, I'll tell the supervisor it'll get done. Yeah, it'll be all fine. I had an example 2 nights ago. I was talking to one of my constituents in Lee Chapel South. She went, oh, you the councillor? I went, yeah. She went, come in here. She works hard. She's got 7 kids of all different ages. And she went, look at these outstanding repairs. She went, I've had them visit a multitude of times. She showed me her phone. All promises from them on WhatsApp. Yeah, this is going to get done. That's going to get done. This is going to get done. But until I speak to Jonathan Tizard, who I did this afternoon, Jonathan's really good with those cases. Now, I'm privileged, I'm a councillor. I have direct contact via email to an officer of the council. But when I saw that lady's house, one supervisor should go and go, Christ, have we left this like this? No way. That will be done, that will be done, that will be done, this will be done. I can appreciate when they do come round, they're not going to do all the faults at once. But they just don't. When we see the homes we get back, my niece had been in temporary accommodation for 3 years, was recently given a place, a ground floor flat, and the walls, a partner went to take, you know, that paper you paint over, and I went, just be careful. And we had a look at the edges, and the whole plaster was attached to that wallpaper. And had to complain. The walls were terrible. But Morgan Sindel have been given that chance, and they have failed. You know, it's just like warning after warning. We have tried to lick them into shape. And they thought we're going to be like the county council with Ringway Jacobs. They've failed, big time. And they've got to go. And can I also put on the record, I'd like to thank the work of Councillor Mrs Callaghan at that scrutiny committee, where that echelon watchdog was quietly dropped, never put on a council agenda, never brought to cabinet. The watchdog of the contractor, just discarded like a dirty rag. And then the key KPIs for the contract were watered down to suit Morgan Sindel's profits, not our tenants. And if they're sitting here tonight wondering why you'll be giving them the Donald Trump line, you're fired, they've only to have to look at themselves in the mirror, because they are the reason for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think they weren't sacked. I think they were just not invited, was the line. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, and yeah, I do appreciate the leadership that this administration is showing to fixing a almost decades-long problem for a lot of residents. I appreciate that officers have tried over the years to grip this, but the problem just got too big. And I think that as chair of the Performance Scrutiny Committee early this year that looked at the numbers in great, like, painstaking detail, I would say, with almost 10 years of reports in front of us, value for money is just not there anymore. The amount of exclusions in that contract, you know, so we're paying extra to have fences fixed and, you know, walls fixed that don't belong to the council. It's just crazy. And then if you look at this report, any extension of this contract is going to cost an extra £42 per property, you know, for what? You know, we've literally had residents that have been living with issues for so long. So if we extend Morgan Sindel by even a year, you know, we're costing ourselves money that we've already spent 10,000 times over the years. So I just think, for me, it's a no-brainer. I was glad to be part of that Performance Scrutiny Committee. And yeah, we did have a few odd moments in that committee where the truth came to light. And so I welcome this report and the options put before us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Powell?
Just to reiterate some of the points that obviously my colleagues have made, it just baffles me how anybody can be out talking to residents, whether you're doing a surgery, whether you're campaigning for an election, in any form, talking to your residents, whether it's on our Facebooks or through our casework, that you could think that continuing with this is the right idea. We need to listen to our residents. Yes, it might be for a year or two. Yes, it's going to be hard work. I think we've proven that we're not afraid of that hard work. Others may be, but we need to show action, show that we are listening to our residents. For too long, it has been allowed that as excuses made, there's a contract in place, let's just extend it, or who can be bothered to do the hard work? We are here listening to our residents. No one is going to congratulate us and thank us for extending this contract, whether it's for a year or two or however long this council exists for. We should be putting in the hard work, and we should be proving to our residents and the tenants of our council homes that we care, and at least we are trying. So it just shocks me that we're still sitting there going, oh, let's just extend it, because honestly, I can't listen to another story, whether I'm out supporting an election or whether I'm reading my casework, of the state people's homes are being left in and the way that our residents are being treated.
Thank you, Councillor Power. Any other member? No? Okay, just to come back on some of the questions that we've been asked. So I think we have to think about where the administration was when we inherited this contract a year ago. I finished leading the council in 2021, and Morgan Sindel had obviously had a difficult time during COVID, but the council had been incredibly supportive of them during that period. And of course, during that time, there are challenges during COVID of entering properties and undertaking works and all the rest of it. What happened in the 3 years between 2021 and 2024, I can't to this day put my finger on, other than when it went to the Performance Scrutiny Committee and it was abundantly clear that what had happened was the downgrading of KPIs to the point where, for me, the number one thing that was a challenge was that only 10% of works are checked for quality. And that can't be a satisfactory position for a council like ours to be in. And I fully accept that we are a new town where all of our stock was new at the same time and all of our stock is old at the same time. But we can do things surely to get ourselves organised in a way where we make that life easier for ourselves. Everything from sat in here listening to the debate about the satisfaction surveys, where was one good or was one bad? Was 5 good or was 5 bad? Well, we'll just mark everything down as good because we can't work out whether one was good or, I mean, it was a mess really. And I think, you know, as an administration, we were pretty clear. I think I went to an away day last September where I laid out 5 plans that I hoped, or 5 points of a plan that I hoped could help us to improve. But sometimes I think you just have to accept that it's tipped too far a certain way. And for thousands of our residents, we are asking them to allow people to come into their homes every day. And therefore, they have to trust that the people coming into their homes are going to do a good job and that they are good ambassadors on behalf of the council. And again, I come back to what I said at the beginning. I thank all of the people who work for Morgan Sindel. I thank their contractors, their subcontractors, because I know that as things have progressed, it's become harder and harder and harder for them going into a lot of homes. And the way that the system is set up is not necessarily conducive to them always being able to get through the front door or always being able to deliver. So often people will tick every single box in order to get somebody to come out from Morgan Sindel, but you'll end up with a plumber when what you really need is a carpenter. And the frustration for the resident, but also for the tradesman when he turns up and or he or she turns up and they can't do the work, I think is an issue that needs to be addressed. So as we move through looking at the rationale was pretty straightforward and simple. The residents had told us unequivocally they'd had enough, and we have to listen to our residents, and that's what we have done. In the last week, we have had over 200 businesses in just 1 week get in touch with us, wanting to come forward to work with the council and to want to take on the job that is being vacated by the expiration of this contract. And listen, it's not going to be easy. I said this last week. It won't be easy. There will be hiccups. And, you know, as things stand in terms of the interim arrangements while we look to procure a longer term solution with whomever we join up with, it might turn out to be cheaper in some areas, more expensive in other areas. But doing the easy thing, which is to just keep extending, is what the previous administration kept doing on a whole range of services, and things never improved. In fact, they got worse. So that is not a recipe for success. My argument is that if we do this and we accept that we've got to put our shoulder to the wheel and we've got to get on with it and we've got to get a new service in as quickly as possible, our residents will see that at the very least there is a council that has listened to them, that is willing to act on their behalf, and hopefully that will be worth it, even if, as I say, we have some hiccups along the way. So with that, I'm going to move to the recommendations, which are on page 98, and ask Cabinet, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. Agenda item 12. I can have a break. Councillor McGurran.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we can probably, unusually, all agree that this is good news. Basildon Council has been awarded a £1.5 million of funding from the Department of Energy Security Net Zero. Kerry, ignore the last two words. It's good, I promise you, it really is. This will deliver energy-saving improvements to low-income households across the borough. Funding comes through the Warm Homes local grant and builds on the success of a previous programme that involves £633,000 in energy efficiency improvements designed to lower energy bills, reduce carbon emissions and improve comfort for residents. Upgrades will include insulation enhancements, electric storage heaters, air source heat pumps and solar panels, delivering long-term benefits to both households and the environment. The Council will be continuing to work with E.ON in partnership to deliver the Warm Homes local grant programme. This grant will help some of our most vulnerable residents live in warmer, more energy efficient homes. This will not only reduce energy costs for those that need help the most, but also support our broader climate ambitions as a borough. This new programme will reach a lot more low-income households than the previous one, because whilst the previous programme was off gas only, this one will work with households with a gas supply as well. So I'm sure we will all welcome this, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Councillor Genet.
Thank you very much, Chair. So I'm very glad to hear that £1.5 million is being given to the council to cut these bills. Now, how much of it is actually going to cut bills, and how much of it is going to go into contractor or consultants' pockets? Can you give me a percentage, please?
No, I can't give you a percentage at the moment. I'm sure Martin probably can. I suspect, as usual, you are blowing smoke where there is no fire to be seen. The main purposes of 1.5 million is to deliver lower bills and more energy efficient homes to the people that need it most in the borough. Let's be very clear about that. That's what this is to do. So your usual, trying to find fault, trying to blame someone else is a little out of kilter. Turn your mic off. I'm surprised that you don't welcome this, but in terms of your question about percentages, Martin, can you help us out on that one at all?
Absolutely, councillors. Yes, so within the scheme, there is a limit, a cap of no more than 15% can go on what they refer to as A&A, the revenue costs. So that would be any of the costs, both through officer costs, contractual management costs, but would include things that aren't direct delivery, like scaffolding needed to do the job as well. Okay, so it's 85% capital costs, but of course facilitation is in that other 15%.
Councillor McGowan.
So I think what Martin was saying very politely there is nothing to see. It's a good scheme. Let's all applaud it and get behind it.
Thank you, Councillor McGowan. Councillor Smith to talk about the merits of net zero.
Well, I better declare I'm one of these unfortunate people who's a customer of E.ON, but as the energy companies all work like the 5 families in New York, you're going to get ripped off by them regardless. And I'd rather this scheme was supported, get money being spent in Basildon, because when they send you a bill, or you put the meter reading in, they're on to you 24 hours later, like you're like Basildon's most wanted knocker. And you go, oh, you get paid the end of the month. You don't get paid on whatever day you fancy. You get paid when I get paid every month. So I'd rather see the money spent in the borough employing local people to do the works. Hopefully it will cut the residents' energy bills. It should do, but it all depends on the materials they're putting in and where they've got them from. But I assume they're all going to be the best. And I just feel it would be remiss of me not to pick up on Councillor McGowan's reference to my good self and his good self. I truly believe this net zero, climate change is the biggest hoax going. As the leader of the Free World said in his previous term, it's been invented by China to bankrupt the West.
Before you do, let me just say that I think it is always welcome that finally we are in receipt of some money from government. It has taken a Labour government to be elected, but we are now finally seeing money coming into our borough. So I look forward to the FOIs about lobbying efforts and all the rest of it to see just how much money we are getting out of our government. I think critically it is building on the money that we were also given by the government last year, around 633,000. So there was even more money coming out of DEFRA for us, which has already helped around about 54 households. And I think if we crack on with this, then looking at the timetable of works, it means that the first round of measures can be in place before Christmas. So that means that some of our tenants, particularly our houses with some of our more vulnerable residents, which I hope will be prioritised, they will see the benefits of that on their bills this winter. Councillor McGarren.
Yeah, just thank you for that. I'll come back. Whether you believe in net zero or not, the fact is, Councillor Smith's point is, this will significantly reduce bills, energy bills, which is a major drag on people's resources in some of our most low-income families. So it is, whatever you think of the broader picture of net zero, etc., it is a positive thing. It will have some other unexpected benefits as well, because again, whether you believe in net zero or not, the fact that heat is not pouring out of houses is a good thing. This will probably help our police force as well, because we do know we have an issue with illegal cannabis factories in our borough, and in terms of identifying those, it's very helpful if we don't have households with energy pouring out. So again, there's lots of benefits, but the key one, the absolute key one, is reducing bills for our lowest income families.
Members, the recommendations for this are on page 119. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is passed. Agenda item number 13 is the Basildon Arena. Councillor Power.
I'm sure everybody's been looking forward to this item tonight. The South Essex Arena. We have people telling us every single day that the town centre is dying. There's not enough people. There's not enough shops. Where are they all going? This is our opportunity to put Basildon on the map, to bring regeneration, something exciting and something worth visiting Basildon for. It's an opportunity for people to be proud of Basildon and an opportunity for us to thrive. How we see high streets and town centres over the last 10, 20 years has changed. It's no longer the place to go to your local butchers and your greengrocers and get your hair done. It's a leisure experience. This is why out of town retail centres like Lakeside and the out of town retail centres we have thrive, and our town centres are no longer working. So we have to give people something else to come to Basildon for. And this is the possibility, this is our chance to grow our economy and bring people to the town centre. We're talking about 300,000 people coming to our town centre, a nighttime economy and a footfall that improves the town centre safety and brings people from not just Basildon, not just South Essex, but even further, an opportunity and a reason to come and experience a cultural offering here in Basildon. This is a cultural offering that also moves into the 21st century. We're moving on from, small theatre performances to interactive experiences, esports, entertainment, ways to obviously access all sorts of immersive technology here on our doorstep. Now, tonight's report is to endorse the next steps of the arena, and inside the report you will see that we have the soft market testing. And from that meeting and from that presentation that we received, and obviously the documents you can see, very much the answer is if we build it, they will come. We have people knocking on our door on a weekly, daily, probably hourly basis if you're the leader of the council at the moment, wanting to be involved in this opportunity, wanting to bring investment, private investment and opportunities here into the town centre. So we should move on with the next phase, and the report asks us to move on to the next phase and establish a key project team to continue to evaluate funding, to continue to build and define the business case, and then the pathway to begin and assess the potential operating models and organisations that are coming forward and talking to us. So this report asks Cabinet to endorse the next steps and really bring this opportunity to life for Basildon and South Essex.
Thank you, Councillor Power. Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Chairman. The obvious question is around taxpayers' money. So initially we were told that there would be no taxpayer investment in this. Now that position appears to have changed. Can the Cabinet member give us an idea of what the likely liability for the taxpayer in the build of this project is going to be? My second question, if I may have a second question, is just around costs. So we know that people in Basildon are having it tough. We know that there isn't a huge amount of disposable income around. We've also, all of us, I suspect, experienced the joys of going to an attraction or an arena and finding that everything costs 2 or 3 times as much as it would cost elsewhere. So what, if any, provisions are being made to ensure that both the event tickets and any sort of food or drink within the arena remains affordable for Basildon residents and not just for those with larger disposable incomes who want to come from outside?
Thank you. Councillor Genet, do you have a question?
Thank you very much, Chair. So, just want to ask a question. Why are we blowing millions and millions and millions of pounds on a vanity project when people can't even walk the high streets? Okay, without fear, bins aren't being collected properly and families can't get housing. It's reckless, it's indulgent, and it proves you're out of touch. Do you not think this money should be best spent elsewhere within our borough? Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I find it puzzling, the statement from the Leader of the Opposition, where he talks about the taxpayers' involvement and everything else. Previous Cabinet meeting, and I don't want to go into the details because it was part 2, but the taxpayers heavily subsidising the Towngate Theatre. And why are we having to do that? Because it was built incorrectly. There is insufficient seating. Now, if you look at Cliff's Pavilion in Southend, it has the seats, it gets the big axe, it washes its face. Now, none of us want to see the theatre close, especially your colleague, through the chair to Councillor Barnes, Councillor Blake. He loves the pantomime. That's the highlight of his year. Yeah. Councillor Barnes, Councillor Blake does love it, yeah? And I think that should be on the record. And he's always been a keen advocate. But on one side we're in save pennies, save pennies, save pennies, save pennies. But if we follow what you suggest from the opposition benches, we will be spending pounds and pounds and pounds, or saving pennies and pennies and pennies. We're testing the market, we're evaluating it, but the simple fact is clear. If you have the seats, you get the axe, it covers its costs. That's the best value for taxpayer. It is how it is implemented. It is making sure we get the right people to come in and check it out and not sell us a pipe dream. And that is what we're progressing here today. I know Councillor Power has the skills. If you look at her record, that is on a declaration, she has worked here, and for a major billion pound project to link us with Kent. So we've got a very capable cabinet member. But if we carry on with this mindset, save pennies, save pennies, save pennies, hemorrhage pounds and pounds and pounds. Let's get the taxpayer the best deal.
Thank you. Councillor Callahan.
Thank you. Now, thinking about massive entertainment hubs in the UK, you wouldn't necessarily think of Derby or Hull or Swansea. A lot of people outside of Essex wouldn't even think of Southend. But every single one of them has an arena, which is the anchor of their sports and cultural and entertainment offer. And I just want to know, why not Basildon? Why not this town? What is so dismal and unacceptable about this town having a sports offer, a comedy offer? We have some of the best comedians that have come out of this part of the world. Oh, we do? Some of them are elected. So, you know, we have some of the best comedians, we have some of the best music. You know, we have like so much talent bursting out of Basildon. Why don't we put that on show? Why don't we go there and bring people there for a night out or a weekend here where you have a night out at the, you know, a live music concert? And I know that the arena that we're looking at, it's got, you know, a kind of virtual offer as well, which means we don't even have to attract the big names for them to actually be there in full colour and 360-degree visuals.
Like the new Ever thing.
like that new ABBA thing. And I would just say that, you know, there's companies, and I read the report and got, you know, really excited about it, like Trafalgar Theatres and AG Europe and Arts Council England and ES, all these people think it could work here. So I just don't know why some people will look residents square in the eye and say it won't without any proof or expertise to back that up. So I think this is fantastic, and it would be proof about people believing in Basildon for all the right reasons.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to answer a few questions about this. I'm going to give some views because this, in some ways, feels like my baby, having thought at the back in 2019 with it. But a few things annoy me more than when people talk Basildon down just to get a cheap political kick. And let's go through this in more detail. Basildon Council has acquired the land necessary in order to develop this out. That was the commitment that the council put forward. We own this building, we own the theatre, we now own the Westgate Shopping Centre. That was what we were doing in terms of land assembly to be able to own the whole of the west end of the town. That gives us a real opportunity there. No wonder they're on their phones. They're not going to want to hear this. So the reality is we now have the opportunity to put a landmark venue here in the Basildon Borough and put us on the map. They began their opposition to this in 2021 by telling us it would never work. It couldn't be done. So we said, when we came back in 2024, let's go and talk to the experts. Let's go and ask. And Miss Lyons will tell me religiously that she was right about doing this. We'll go out and we will talk. And we will get written on a piece of paper somebody to tell us whether or not this will or won't work. I was criticised on social media, I'm told, by Councillor Schrader, because apparently, according to Schrader, you know, remember the Morgan-Sindel contract, that went well, but Councillor Schrader, who was telling us that it was terrible because it's gone from 5,000 seats to 3,500 seats, and that's terrible. But actually, you know, what that proves is that the exercise worked, because it proved what was actually possible to attract here in Basildon with our transport links, with everything else in terms of what people in a certain demographic and a certain radius are actually spending on leisure and culture. When it comes to the investment that's being put forward today of £250,000, the reason we're doing that is so that what we will then be able to do is we'll be able to bring in people who procure these things for a living, who understand and can have the negotiations with the major operators to ensure that we get the best deal, to ensure that actually this turns into an exercise that generates commercial revenue for the council, so that the taxpayer not only gets access to a first-class facility, but we may also be able to bring in some revenue into the council coffers to help pay for some of our services. There are things that we can do in terms of concessions on tickets, in terms of good causes on tickets, all of those things that we can mandate off the back of this, our contractor to be able to put into the specification and into the negotiation with the operator. The danger always in these things, as we've learned from all of the various conversations that we've been having, is that you end up giving too much away. And that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure we're protecting for the council and for the taxpayer the opportunity to bring some revenue back into Basildon. That is a good thing. It is a good thing. I defy anyone who wants to represent St Martin's to sit there and tell us that they are against putting a landmark facility in their ward that is going to attract 300,000 people a year into a town centre that will dramatically improve the retail, nightlife and security offer of the town, that will create hundreds of jobs in post-production, pre-production, in the front of house, in the running of that facility. That will be a huge benefit to Basildon people and to people particularly living in St Martin's. I'm told it's a vanity project. I keep hearing it, and yet I heard from a sedentary position when we were hearing people talking about the operator, somebody said, who? We're talking about the people who run facilities like the O2, who are literally telling you in a report, this is a goer, Basildon, get behind it. And we've got people who sit here talking it down, saying, who are they? I mean, and they want to be in control of this council. It scares the living daylights out of you that people who are responsible for generating billions of pounds around the world in these arenas and in these live entertainment events, who are saying this is a goer, this can work. And we've got somebody here who's telling us that he knows more than those people. It's hilarious to sit here and listen to it. But what I think is also quite, and this is where I will get on my soapbox a little bit, I've heard all of this before. I sat here in 2021 listening to opposition members telling me this borough didn't need a youth zone, that it was a vanity project, that we shouldn't do it, that we shouldn't build it out, that, you know, Basildon didn't need it, that it was too expensive, it was a Gavin Callaghan vanity project. So they pulled the plug. It was the biggest piece of social vandalism that any administration has ever done. Because to walk away from that youth zone, when you're now complaining that we've got young people in our town centres and on our estates not doing anything, when you're the very people who took away the opportunity for them to have a world-class, state-of-the-art facility on their doorstep in Basildon Town Centre. And now those same people that took that away from the people of Basildon want to come here and say, you should not have an arena. You don't deserve a first-class facility. We shouldn't put 300,000 people into our town centre because of the arena. Why on earth would you put politics before the delivery of something transformational for Basildon? There is nowhere in Essex that would have a bigger indoor facility and venue than Basildon. So where we have conferences and business events and we have all of these, you know, dinosaurs and Disney event and all the rest of it going off to Chelmsford, that could be in Basildon for our people to be able to access easier. And you're saying, no, keep it in Chelmsford. This would be the only place for businesses and conferencing events. So where there is no exhibition space anywhere in the county of Essex on the same size and scale of this. So you'd be attracting all of those businesses, the Fords and the Leonardos and all those others. They would be able to hold their conferences here in Basildon with all of the additional income for the hotels and everything else. E-sports and e-gaming, which is huge. You're laughing because it's a massive industry. And you have a report here telling you that esports and e-gaming can generate a massive footfall for the people and the kids of Basildon. Why would you be against that? Why would you want to stop Basildon being the first facility in the East of England region to host esports and e-gaming events? And you will lose in the court of public opinion if you go out there and you say that you don't want this arena, because there is something else that's here, and it's almost deafening, which is, what's the alternative? This has now been going on for 6 years, and for 3 of those years I've led the council and I've said we're going to put an arena in the West End. For 3 of them, the Tories led the council, and the best they came up with was an amphitheatre to eat sandwiches at lunchtime in Basildon Town Centre. I mean, there was nothing. Or we're going to have a digital campus. We just can't get anybody from the digital sector to want to come here. You haven't got a clue. That is obvious from your questions. You haven't even read. You've run it through ChatGPT to spit out some questions. You haven't read what's in front of you. You can't have done, because you don't know who some of the people are who are part of it, and you have made no reference in your contribution to the 300,000 people that will be coming through the town centre. You've made no reference to the jobs. You've made no reference to the fact that the people who built the ABBA voyage were part of the consultee engagement and the stakeholder exercise here, who said this is a good thing, it will work. The only reason you're against it is because Gavin Callaghan is sat here promoting it. It is so sad that you are prepared to throw Basildon under a bus because it's got my name as the leader of the council. And you sit there looking surprised. Your council, I know you're not in control of your group, and that was obvious at full council last week when your deputy leader threw you under the bus. But when you look at what your group are all over social media saying, they're slagging it off. Why would you be against it? You can't offer a single alternative or coherent reason why you're against it. And that's why when you do knock on the doors and when you do speak to people, away from the echo chamber that is Facebook and all of the kind of fake news that's on there, the people say, this is a goer. This is a really good idea and we should get behind it and we should put Basildon on the map. And I tell you now, if this happens, it will transform Basildon Town Centre. This regeneration will go from being about shops and restaurants and flats to being about the best evening, nighttime entertainment venue anywhere in Essex. And we will deliver that here in Basildon for our residents. So if you want to be against that, you knock yourselves out, lads. But you're going to be on the wrong side of history. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I feel the need to come back because you referenced the youth zone. Myself and my county colleagues here, this was discussed at County Hall. And for them, it wasn't about where the need for a youth zone needed to be. It had to be in one of their so-called prestige places. And the argument was between Chelmsford and Colchester. They never read the brief, they never understood the brief, and they didn't understand the demographics of what a youth zone is there to improve and the community needs to facilitate. And I genuinely think that the Conservatives have got orders from and County Hall. Basildon's a piece of dirt and County does not want Basildon picking itself off its rear end and making itself great again. And this is why the objection is. Because once we become, where we should be, the top place again in Essex with town centres, can you imagine them grabbing their pearls, cursing your name? That people are now shopping in Basildon, not Chelmsford or Colchester. They will curse you, and if they do that, all power to your elbow. Because as far as I'm concerned, from nearly 14 years at County Hall, they just use Basildon as a rinse place. Rinse us for money and dump all their problems on us. So you crack on, you know, and as Churchill says, keep buggering on and get the job done, because this is our town centre and we're not interested in the County Hall squires. Basildon first.
I think you make a good point. And when we keep all £175 million of the taxpayers' money that we collect in this borough and not ship 80% of it off to County Hall like we do every single year, let's make it really clear. Once LGR happens, Basildon will build a youth zone. We will make sure that after 2028, when we are fully in control of our youth services, fully in control of children and young people services, we will deliver what the Tories scrapped in terms of a youth zone. Yep.
I think on the other point that was made about town centre safety, we have no control over the town centre. Again, as the leader said, what is the alternative? What is your plan? Because you were in the hospital unit a few weeks ago, back in that regeneration and the footfall that's going to create and the economy that's going to grow. So why not this? It's regeneration for our town centre. It brings people to the town centre, which makes it safer. I have been in the town centre past 5 p.m. over the last few weeks. It is desolate. It is empty. Therefore, it is unsafe. So I don't understand why we would be talking this down and talking down an idea to bring economy, to bring life, to bring excitement, to bring joy to the town centre. There are so many plans and different things we can do to make this accessible to absolutely everybody across our borough by working with these organisations and these operators. It's a little saying called social value. There's all sorts of things we can negotiate and build in to make this deliver for our town centre. And I honestly wish the cameras could be pointed to you whilst we are talking, sitting there laughing, the contempt you are showing to this town centre that you seem to want to present. You want to represent people in this borough. You want to stand up and say that you are of the people, but yet you laugh down any idea that will bring any good to this borough. You sit there laughing your way through these meetings, and I honestly wish the cameras could show that right now, because honestly I do think people would be disappointed in the fact that when we are making valid points and we have experts that have made valid points which is accessible to the public to read and see with their own eyes in black and white, with large organisations and operators saying build it and they will come, and you sit there laughing, I honestly think people will be disappointed in what they have chosen for their borough.
If only we had a body count.
And thankfully we are about to outvote them, because the recommendations to get on with it and do it and deliver it are on page 126. All those in favour? Thank you. It will not be scrapped because you won't be here. Agenda item number 14 is the Basildon Construction Academy. Councillor Power.
Thank you. Following on from the fantastic news that we are going to continue building the Basildon Arena and bringing regeneration and great things to the borough, as well as the houses we need to build across this borough to support social housing, people on our temporary accommodation list, those that are waiting for a council house, we want to ensure that we make sure we put Basildon at the front and centre of that. The Basildon Construction Academy is born from the Basildon First Charter, which asks developers that are coming into this borough, that are making a profit from building their properties in our borough, to put Basildon first, to use Basildon businesses in their supply chain, to grow and train their own people, our own people, into their businesses and give a job for life for Stephen the Leader's line, every Bricky, Chippy and Sparky across the whole borough, an opportunity. Now, construction is a growing issue across the whole borough. Across the southeast alone in this country, we are going to need 250,000 skilled trades and workers within the next 5 to 10 years just to build the pipeline that is currently planned and proposed for this area. We have people in this borough that are able to fulfil that need. We have people we can reskill, retrain, upskill, introduce into the market and give them a real opportunity for a fantastic career in construction here on our doorstep. Now, this is an opportunity for us to bring together the organisations that we have across the borough that are getting that funding from the government, new skills bootcamp funding, new training excellence centres across the area, to ensure that we train people in construction careers and put them into the market. And this is by working with our developers and linking all of that together. We have the ability to be the vehicle to bring all of that in a full circle. And we are already doing it at the site across the road at Chapelgate, making sure that local young people are getting the opportunity to learn a trade, and they're learning it the right way with experience and with experienced tradespeople as well. So they are making sure that they are going to be maintained and supported in the industry further. So this recommendation today is obviously to continue the support and establishment of the ongoing operation of the Basildon Construction Academy, and bring in a new dedicated website and developing a new brokerage partnerships, exploring sites for training and learning. So as I said, we do have many organisations that deliver great training already. It's about making sure that people know how to access that information and that training. We do it already for our pathway service with a number of different services. We can go one step further with the Basildon Construction Academy and really bring to life the opportunities we have here on your doorstep in this borough to have a job for life. And it is about getting Basildon to build Basildon. We talk about the pride that people take in something if they are involved. Effectively, we are asking people, or giving people the opportunity to build the homes they may live in, build the regeneration project their friends and family are going to attend, see the actual buildings come out of the ground and they're involved in. The amount of much more pride that will be taken into those going into the future and the future generations is great, and it's so far reaching. So yeah, that's what we're looking to create, and obviously we want to continue to progress this piece of work and ensure that we get the right support with the right individuals to help grow this further and make sure that we have this training happening here in our borough.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Power. Councillor Barnes, do you have a question?
Thank you, Chairman. Just one on this. In terms of the training, is there any, given that you've said you're likely to take the housing repairs back in-house, is there any plan to sort of link the two projects together to potentially reduce costs?
Councillor Genet.
Thank you very much. Just to confirm, how many jobs have actually come because of this particular strategy, or how can we say this, as part of this academy rather? How many jobs have been created already, and how many do you intend to create because of this? Thank you.
So on the first question, yes, obviously with the looking to take Morgan Sindall in-house, it is a conversation I've already had with officers about how we link all the services we have already in terms of pathways, the sector-specific careers fairs we have, launching Basildon Construction Academy, and the opportunities we could create in-house for apprenticeships and training and upskilling of staff, or even the individuals that are already out in the industry that may obviously changed obviously what they're doing because of the Morgan Sindel contract, how we can upskill and retain those people and those skills in the industry as well. So yes, we have already thought about that and are looking at that. In terms of the jobs it will create, obviously it hasn't created any yet because it's, you know, we're looking to establish it and move on. But it is so far reaching. We talk about every single individual developer. So a developer will come to us with their proposal and they will have their workforce plans. Within what we discuss with them, employment and skills plans, and in social value, you will ask a developer to promise or to commit to a certain amount of those being apprenticeship roles, they will be training roles, upskilling roles, and that's what we will take and retain and obviously support them to deliver those through the Basildon Construction Academy. So there isn't a set number, unless Christine has done some modelling or the team have done anything further on this. There isn't a set number, but it's through continuous work. But we know there's a skills gap, we know the construction's coming, we're going to help the developers to deliver that locally. Oh, okay. So yeah, there's an update from planning last night.
I mean, all new developments for large sites over sort of major sites over 100 units have to deliver skills and employment plans and also now contributions. Last night, Planning Committee approved, subject to 106, 48 hectares of employment space. That obviously comes with a huge package for skills and employment, and also £1.6 million worth of contributions towards skills and employment in our borough as well. So the implications for that for the Construction Academy means that we've got the beginnings of a funding pot for it, and all schemes we've got already have come up with additional cash for that. So the 106 agreements will cover the costs of the academy going forward, and that money would have gone into other areas without us having this in place.
It sounds like it was a very worthwhile planning meeting last night. It would have been a shame to miss it. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We know too many people slip through the net. We don't control education, not until May 28, and we have a county council that doesn't give a fig about our schools. And too many of the so-called white working class young males are slipping through the net. This academy will be able to grab them and say, look, let's break that cycle of hardship you've grown up and your families may have grown up in, learn a trade, earn some good money and break that vicious cycle and have a better life. Isn't that what the ethos of building the new towns in the first place? So this is a positive thing, and once we get control of education, we can start raising the standards there and make things better for the most vulnerable working class kids in the borough, giving them that positive start.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. I think there's a running theme through all the agenda items that we've got this evening of ambition and aspiration being brought back to Basildon this evening for our residents that we seek to be able to serve and deliver for. Whether it's building the Basildon Arena, whether it's creating job opportunities for our residents. What we're seeing tonight is an administration that is focused on delivering, being able to get our residents right at the forefront of opportunities that we create. And I want to thank you for your work in being able to bring that back to the borough. I also want to be able to thank Councillor Powell for her work in driving forward the Basildon Construction Academy. I repeat the comments that I made at full council a few months ago, that it's incredible what can happen when you have a social value expert in the Cabinet driving forward opportunities for our residents. And I know how tirelessly Councillor Powell has devoted to delivering for our residents in the time she's been on the Cabinet, and want to thank her for doing so. I've spent most of my career as a youth worker, as I repeat on many, many occasions, and I've seen the difference that having employment services that creates opportunities for people being able to see opportunities locally, being able to see the jobs that they can get, being able to see the opportunities for them to be able to live, work and stay within the boroughs that they work within. We have that opportunity to be able to deliver that through the Basildon Construction Academy with job opportunities that are going to be around for many, many years for our residents to be able to live, work and stay within this borough. One of the reports that concerned me most of all when I first joined this council in 2018 was an infrastructure committee talking around the employment opportunities for young people in this borough, and seeing statistics that showed employment for young people is higher than the national average in the economic heartbeat of Essex, that we have young people, our rates of unemployment are far higher than the national average. I was told by the then chair, he's a member of the shadow cabinet, so I won't wish to say any comments about him this evening, but I was told by the then chair that talking about infrastructure and job opportunities wasn't appropriate at that meeting. I disagree. What we're doing tonight is being able to bring infrastructure, being able to bring job opportunities for our young people, being able to see those opportunities that they can be able to progress and have a borough that they can be proud in and proud to call home. And as a St Martin's Ward Councillor, I look forward to seeing those young people taking part in the Basildon Construction Academy, having the opportunity to work on the Basildon Arena in the future. Thank you, Leader.
Very good. I would just add that I attended the Pathways Jobs Fair after the GCSE and A-level results were out. And I spoke to nearly all of the guys and girls who were exhibiting there. And they were very clear that the number one course that almost every single person wanted to do was construction. It came up time and time and time and time again. So then as a council, what are you going to do about it? And the answer is you have to come up with a little bit of a formula. And that is what we've done. You have to get the pot of money, which we have done through the 106s. Then you have to add a local plan, regeneration schemes, and a repairs contract. Then you have to add the academy as the vehicle to start the training and deliver, and it will equal a job for life for every Basildon, Bricky, Chippy and Sparky. And that's what the council is going to do. So I hope that residents watching who may have children or grandchildren, you might even be young enough to be watching this if you are sad enough to be doing that on a Thursday evening. But if you have children or grandchildren, then hopefully you can see that this is a council who gets it. We understand what the need is, and we understand the scale of the development, the scale of the building, and we are committed to ensuring that Basildon is building Basildon. So I think that is a really, really good positive step rather than these pie-in-the-sky digital campus things that former Councillor Rimmer kept wasting time and money on. Members, the recommendations for this are on page 157. All those in favour, please show. That is unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item number 15 is the update on the annual report. We have delivered an awful lot, so strap yourself. I'm joking. We've done a lot over the course of the last year, and that annual report is the key accountability document that shows how the council is delivering against its corporate plan. It, of course, was a year of change in 2024 with a new administration, a new chief executive, and it is right that the corporate plan was refreshed to reflect both the priorities of the administration and the new leadership team, but also what residents told us during the research and the focus groups that we conducted. Some of the key achievements that are worth flagging, the securing of over £1 million from Sport England for the community activity programmes, the delivery of the largest ever resident engagement consultation, which helps us to deliver the new waste service that we implemented, the establishment of the area committees to invest in local projects. Over 1,000 consents were granted for new homes to be built in our borough, which generate more than £20 million in additional infrastructure money that was not there 12 months before. We've commenced on 244 new council homes across 7 sites with record Labour government grant funding secured here in Basildon. Including £13 million to unlock Chapelgate, which if you now see Chapelgate in all its glory, it's starting to look really, really good. And we're looking forward to the first block opening in December. Advancing the climate action through the social housing decarbonisation. We talked about some of that earlier on. Converting 2 of our sheltered housing schemes into general needs and investing in improved estates as well. We introduced things like our version of the EMA, our version of the winter fuel allowance project as well. We engaged over 5,000 students through the My Future, My Basildon flagship skills event. Our skills show had over 1,500 attendees. The Creative Tech Fest in February had over 1,000 attendees. We established the business improvement districts in Billericay and Wickford. We advanced the town centre regeneration and BTCM conversations in Basildon, looking at new lighting, new greening, wayfinding. We got the cinema opened after years and years of delay and dither. We delivered the Regulation 18 local plan consultation with over 9,000 views. We continued with the transformation programme towards LGR, local government reorganisation. We've led on the abolition of Essex County Council and the creation of the new councils. We've improved the performance on major planning applications, 95% on time versus the 60% target that we were set. We have national recognition for our housing and our development teams who won multiple awards over the course of the last year as well. So I could go on because there is loads and loads that we're also doing. We fixed the bins. We're regenerating 4 out of the 5 town centres. We got the highways bond issue fixed in Langdon, which now means that the Langdon shopping centre is being delivered, and Lidl are on site building as we speak. We've also got the CDC funded. It was that small problem that the government hadn't funded it, but now they have. So that was solved. So that's now being built. And we're very, very close, as we said, to getting that hospital opened and funded in Basildon Town Centre as well. Building homes for local people, the Basildon First Charter that we brought back that was opposed by the opposition, that was about making sure all of our homes are for local Basildon people. We bought the Rouse store in Billericay, we bought Southgate House, we have got a deal with the Verse in Wickford to ensure it's our residents and not a London Borough's residents taking our homes on course, as I said earlier on, to recover the 60 odd million pounds of dead money that would have been spent on temporary accommodation if it wasn't for our strategy. I could go on and on and on, but I can see you are all really enthusiastic about it. Does any opposition member have any questions on the annual report? No, obviously it's all good news. Why would anybody have anything to say about good news, eh? I could carry on. Shall I carry on? I could do. I've got more. When it comes to the fit for purpose, leading the transformation programme, improving the performance in things like finance, housing, changes to the repairs and maintenance contract as well. Bringing back the Together Safer Communities initiatives. Yeah, there you go, walking out because there's too much good news for them. Okay, well look, the recommendations are on page 166. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. Everyone's in agreement with what a sterling job we are doing. This will be good. The budget monitoring report for Q1 is agenda item number 16. Some of the headlines for this maps out where the council was up to until the 30th of June. Since that time, the council's position has improved slightly. So the council was projecting an overspend of 4.3 million. We have reduced that down to 3.9 million. 3 million of that relates to temporary accommodation costs and problems, which we have talked about before. In the HRA, we are projecting, as things stand at the moment, an overspend of 1.4 million, but there are mitigations in place to be able, over the next 3 quarters, to bring that back into line. Placements between October 2024 and March 2025, in terms of TA, they rose by around about 60% compared to the year before. That was largely due to the increases we were discussing earlier on in the Section 21 evictions. Some of the other overspends relate to staffing, to agency costs, and some income shortfalls in building control. Some of the underspends have offset some of that, and so therefore we have seen a slight reduction. I am pleased to say, compared to what we were talking about last year, that not only is the waste and refuse service on budget, is also actually posting a slight underspend, which I'm sure Alan and James will want to be spending as quickly as possible, so I don't take it off them. But that is performing well. In terms of disrepair and in terms of the HRA and why we are where we are, slightly overspent, a large part of that is due to the legal challenges that we are facing around the repairs. And again, we are mitigating that by changing the repairs contract so we can take some of that forward. But we do have around 200 live cases, as detailed in the report, when it comes to legal actions on repairs, which we just simply cannot continue with and we need to deal with. I'm pleased to say that in the environment and leisure portfolio, there is also a slight underspend as well, which is good. I'm not going to go into that because you guys will all be sat there telling me that I can't bank these as savings in a month's time. I'm talking more to the officers there than the members for those watching. Very good. That's where we are. There's no doubt that the TA position remains challenging, but I think the delivery programme that we have is clear. We've set that out. If it are things like Chapelgate, things like the Dartford scheme that we're bringing forward, some of the modular schemes that we're bringing forward, obviously we funded them, we've given approvals for them, but they are not physically out of the ground. They are in the process of being there, and we are just 2.5 months away from getting our hands on the first of those properties in Chapelgate and Broadmain and some of those other areas, but we will obviously have more of those coming into plan. So we knew that there would be a lag in 25, 26 when it came to TA in terms of the delivery of some of those projects. But as the officers will tell you, I am looking for mitigations on TA and what we are doing in terms of finding more properties very, very keenly at the moment. I'll leave it there until we have any questions. I'll start with the opposition. Councillor Barnes, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Only you could say that £3.9 million overspend is a good thing, so well done on that front. But in all seriousness, on the temporary accommodation budget, obviously it's showing as basically staying a similar sort of level over coming years. I'm assuming, based on what you've just said there, you anticipate that once this temporary accommodation that we've purchased comes online, that will reduce down and that overspend will be reduced. And just with that in mind, when we're going into sort of the LGR process, have we factored in this overspend, and what sort of discussions will we need to have with our future partners in order to mitigate the risk that might pose?
Thank you, Councillor Junaid. Do you have a question?
Thank you very much, Chair. Nearly £1 million a month in overspend. We know this is disastrous for our council. So do we think it's appropriate that we spend £9,700 on photos of the leader when we're in so much trouble? Thank you.
Right. So I think when I said £3.9 million was very challenging, I'm not sure how that could have been presented as me saying that it was good news. So that's a neat amount of spin. In terms of the... would you like to hear the answer? Thank you. So in terms of the way that we are approaching this, we have gone further because we are estimating or forecasting a 31% year-on-year increase in temporary accommodation. And that is an average based on what has happened before and where we think with the private rented market and where things are at the moment, that's likely to be the trajectory. We have actually started to see a plateauing of the numbers. So we've started to see less increases coming forward. Now that is a good thing, and hopefully may that continue. I remain sceptical based on the Renters' Right Bill coming in March that we will not see an uptick throughout the winter months, especially when people face even more cost pressures than they do throughout the summer months. So we can't be complacent about that, but that is why, even though we were forecasting the need for about 300 properties, we went further last year and we said that we wanted 500 properties, and that is what the £85 million is designed to do. It is designed to buy 500 units, but equally the strategy is always then, where we can, to dispose of those units and make a profit, or at the very least full cost recovery of what the council has spent. So I am not anticipating that the bill will significantly increase over the course of this time, because, as I say, we will have more units starting to come online, Chapelgate being the most obvious one of those, the quickest one of those. We have around 200 people at the moment in bed and breakfast and hotel accommodation. That is killing the finances. That's where most of this overspend is. What the government did for us last year was it gave us a pot of money to look at how we could plug some of the gaps. So where somebody might be falling a couple of £100 short every month, obviously from our perspective, going in and supporting them to the tune of £2,000-3,000 is far more cost effective than them presenting at our front door and the council then having to spend £27,000 on temporary accommodation for them. So we've reformed how we're doing that. What we don't know is whether or not we will get that pot of money again this year. So the good news is that when we get the local government finance settlement this time round, we will get a 3-year financial settlement. So normally they are only every 12 months, so you can only plan for what you have in the bank every 12 months. We'll get a 3-year settlement. That will take us to the end of Basildon Council. That means then that we can present in February a budget with some certainties on it. We will know that every year we might get a top up of £1.5 million on the homelessness grant, and therefore we'll be able to alleviate some of those pressures. As things stand at the moment, we're too early in the municipal year to do that. We're sat here in September. Come the end of November, December, we'll get those numbers out of government and we'll be able to finalise our thinking on that. I also think, and I've said this to the government, if you are going to continuously take housing off of us in terms of HMOs for Clear Springs or Serco or Mears or whoever it might be, then you better give us some money to offset some of that, because they are properties that should be for local Basildon residents. They are sympathetic to that view. Now, whether that materialises into cash, again, we will find out when we see the budget and the local government finance settlement. We also have the fair funding review coming. What that looks like, I don't know. A cynic might suggest that the results at the May elections might mean that it's now more favourable to districts than it might have otherwise have been. But we will wait to see what happens. We've got a new Secretary of State and a new Minister for Local Government after the weekend. The good news now is that the Secretary of State is a former council leader. So he understands exactly what the pressures are, and he understands what we're all going through in a way that perhaps the previous Secretary of State didn't, because she was not from a local government background. So I think that is a good thing. In terms of the overspends, nobody thinks that it is a good thing. And to be sat here forecasting for the year. So we're not forecasting for a month, we're forecasting for the year. So when we present the £3.9 million figure, that isn't $1 million a month every month. That is going to be what we forecast to the end of the year. If the pressures continue as they are, this comes back to kind of basic accounting, but I know you are new to this, so I'm giving you a bit of a patronising answer, which I apologise for. But we are forecasting in the report for the full year, so that we would end up sat here on the 31st of March with a £3.9 million gap. Now, clearly, from our point of view, it's good to know that as soon as possible so that we can put the mitigations in. Last year, we were running with the old bin system at about a £2.3 million overspend, but we were able to put the mitigations in so that it broke even or near enough towards the end of the year, and that's what we're going to do again. Nobody thinks these numbers are great. Local government is not in a great financial position. We know that. What we do have across both the General Fund and the HRA is over £40 million of reserves in this council's coffers. That shows that we've managed the finances well. We have not done what, for example, in the previous 2 years, to us returning to administration, the last administration kept burning through reserves. We did not do that last year, and I'm hopeful that as we set the budget and we move through the autumn and then into the early part of 2026, we'll be able to come back with those mitigations. I am quite clear that one of the things that is missing, that we need to do more of, is generate more money out of our commercial activity. We need to create more revenue streams into the council, and it can't just be about cuts to services. And that's something that we will be going through again during the budget setting process in the autumn. In terms of, I think you asked me about photos as well. Yeah, only that isn't correct. So I think what you need to do when you make those assertions, councillor, is go and do your research and have an actual look at what that figure says and what it is set against. Because I've seen, again, I've been presented with some screenshots. There are things presenting themselves on social media that are factually inaccurate. So I know you would not want to be factually inaccurate, and you wouldn't want to suggest that that money was spent on photographs when it was not. So do your research and then you can come back. You've unfortunately lost the chance to ask me a question, but I'm sure you'll do it again at some other point. But unfortunately, you weren't able to ask that question properly and factually that time. But you will get better, I'm sure. Does any member of the Cabinet wish to ask me any questions on this? Very good. In which case, the recommendations for this item are noted. Very good. The next item is agenda item number 17. And I'm informing Cabinet this evening that we are going to move this item. So we have had advice tonight that contained within the report there is an inaccuracy in the definition of a key decision. So we need to withdraw the report because members will not have seen the correct version of that. But also, I attended the overview and scrutiny meeting that Councillor Barnes was at, and a number of representations were made to me at ONS on Tuesday night. I am minded to accept some of the recommendations that were made to me at ONS, but I need to work with our officers to look at some more of the benchmarking exercises, and we need to go back to ONS so they have a full report, both in terms of what we may or may not do on thresholds, but also what the key decision criteria is. So I have asked Democratic Services to put this on the agenda for ONS and to inform the chair of ONS that that is what we're going to do, and then we can come back here in October and then we can take this to full council. So this will not go forward to full council next week because it is incorrect at this moment in time, and we will bring it to the full council in November after it has been viewed by ONS and by Cabinet. So, members, we need to vote to defer it to our next meeting or to a future meeting, depending on when ONS can meet. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Agenda item number 18 is the waste strategy, the waste and recycling update. Councillor McGarry.
Thank you very much. So the simple truth here is this is a far better picture than I would have expected at this stage, and way better than the naysayers would have had us believe a year or so ago. Having said all that, we are looking at 1 quarter, so it's early days, and I'm sure that there is more progress to come. However, I'll give you some of the highlights of the observations based on the 1 quarter of information we have at the moment. The levels of cans and plastics recycling has remained steady, actually with a slight increase, albeit a slight one. The level of paper and card collected shows a more significant increase in collection rates. If you remember, the received wisdom was that these levels would fall. They haven't. Contamination levels of recycling are lower than they were when collected under the pink sack scheme, so that's also good news. The level of incidents of dump rubbish removed has reduced by 10%, and we expect this trend to continue, hopefully significantly so. In-cab technology is reducing the numbers of missed collections, and this will continue to improve. Talking of missed collections, the actual figure is down from 5,229 at the same period last year to 3,786 this year, a 28% reduction in missed collections reports. So again, lots of good news in there. You can read it for yourself. I don't need to go on. But I'm more than happy to answer questions if there are any.
Good news.
Thank you. Opposition members, Councillor Barnes, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Is there a schedule for the wheelie bins for recycling? I know the sacks were just a temporary measure, so do we know when they're coming in, the wheelie bins?
Councillor Genet? No, fine, thanks. Very good. Councillor McGarren, do you want to come back?
Yeah, no, sadly there is no schedule for wheelie bins for recycling, because if you're au fait with the government advice on this, you can only use wheelie bins for recycling where there's you can make a case where that is actually essential. Given that the previous administration switched to plastic and cans and paper and cardboard recycling, there is no way on God's earth we could go to the government and say, can we go back to one method of recycling all our rubbish? It would not be accepted. It would also cost an absolute fortune. So you're on about figures tonight. It would be an eye-watering amount that would really put us in jeopardy. But the simple reason why we can't do that is your administration made the change they did. Now, I'm not condemning that. There was reasons for that. We've continued with it. But because of that, there is no way on God's earth we can go to one method of recycling all our rubbish, which would involve a wheelie bin. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Councillor McGarren. I think you're right. That commingling is no longer an option for us here in Basildon. I think there's just a couple of things to add. I think one of the things for me is we've got to up the game on enforcement. So I appreciate that where we are in terms of the sacks delivery and all the rest of it. And so for a lot of people, they might be coming to the end of their roles, if you like, that's a weird sentence, of their sacks that they have. But I think from my perspective, I think one of the things that is critically important is that when you walk around the borough, particularly in a morning where you have the bins being collected on that particular day, if nobody has got a blue or white sack out, it is abundantly clear that they are not recycling. My bin collection date is today, and just driving round my estate, you can see people that haven't put out a single blue or white sack and have just put out the black bin. That is like enforcement galore. It's like a bright light shining out saying they haven't used a single milk bottle in the whole week. That there hasn't been a single Amazon delivery in this day and age. I don't believe it. So there has to be contamination of the blue the black bins when you see properties like that. So I think that we've got to start thinking about the shift patterns when it comes to some of the enforcement action to try and get people out early to identify some of the properties that might fall into this category. And then we need to be thinking about the enforcement notices and the FBNs. The other thing that I would just say as well, because it has been a period of change, is a big thank you to all of our refuse staff for all of the work that they've been doing. I was catching up with a couple of them when they were on their round a couple of weeks ago in my patch. Congratulations to Chris on the birth of his daughter as well, a couple of weeks ago. But he was doing a great job. So was Tony and Job and the team, and all of them were out doing some work. And I know they've been through that period of change, but they do a good job. And Hayden isn't a bad footballer either, because he's been coming along on a Tuesday night. So yeah, a big thank you to those guys as well. Councillor Smith, and then come back to Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank Councillor McGowan and James Hendry doing what the naysayers said that couldn't be done. I don't know about King of the Bins, more like the bin busters. Because, I mean, I look down my street after the bin men have been, I don't see any litter, no spillages, it's clean, it's tidy. I do think we need to get some messages out there about where people can get some extra sacks. And one area that rapidly ran out of sacks for recycling, you never guess where, Vange Library in my ward. A resident phoned me up, said they went down to Vange Library and they ran out of sacks. I sent a council inquiry in, we got it resolved. But that's good to hear that people in Vange are proactively recycling. I think with what the leader said, when we first introduced pink sacks, my late mother said to me like, oh, sodding council, more aggravation, I'll just stick it all in a black sack. I went, Mum, black sacks cost money. You put them pennies aside at the end of the year, it's a pack of fags. That's a good point. So I think that's not a bad little line. Black sacks cost money, recycling bags don't. So there's another line. It needs to, things are still tough, courtesy of Liz Truss's economic car crash. So let's put it out to people. Blue, white sacks for recycling cost no money. And I think the final thing, since we got rid of those disgusting, rotten, vile, minging...
You didn't like them, did you?
I hate those pathogen bags. Absolutely disgusting. You could never clean them. You couldn't stick them in a nice soapy bucket of water. Rotten. Was my two cats, Alf and Bob. And when them rotten bags were coming in, if I just saw them looking through the patio door to come in, I thought, they've got a mouse in their mouth. Get the mouse out of the mouth, because they would drop it in the house and sometimes they'd be alive. This summer, sort of 6 weeks after the changes, the only things they've been bringing back are unfortunately frogs, because they're good for the garden, moths, dragonflies, not a single piece of vermin. And they weren't bringing in vermin pre-pathogen bag. So either they had a good run of catching vermin, or those pathogen bags were just a breeding ground for vermin as well. So thank you, Councillor McGowan, for doing and re-establishing why the Victorians set up local authorities to defend the public health. I don't care about the greenies. They can get on the Greta Goebbels love barge to a mass and do us all a favour. Let's keep our streets clean.
I wasn't expecting to be compared to our great Victorian predecessors. I have to say that's come as a slight surprise. But
You're not that old, Aidan.
It was actually mainly. I have to correct you though. It was actually mainly the Liberals because it's that far ago. But anyway, yeah, we took the mantle as usual and pushed it way further. But thank you anyway. I'm sorry, I've got to correct the leader a little bit here in terms of his comments about contamination. He's half right. He's always right, obviously. But in terms of contamination of waste, there's very little evidence to suggest that's happening. And if James wants to come in a minute, he can. But there's very little evidence to suggest that is happening. So most people are behaving really well. What we know we have a problem with is some people just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So they're not shoving stuff in the wrong bin. They're just dumping stuff. And we've still got that problem. So that is the problem. That is the problem. We've got a series of announcements over the coming weeks about what we're doing about dumping of rubbish and fly tipping. I think the residents will be delighted. We're going to tackle it head on, and we're going to produce results, and you will see a real difference. So yeah, I think that's important to stress. But it is important to. I mean, one of the things we've been pleasantly surprised by is the fact we thought that the black bins, a lot more stuff that shouldn't be going in the black bins would be going in the black bins. There's very little evidence of that yet, but it's early days. We're monitoring it, as always. In terms of the extra sacks, Kerry, I've got good news for you. Two things. You're right about Vange Library. As soon as it came to my attention, and I think it was literally a day or two, that they were restocked, thanks to James and his team. They were restocked. Tell us if, what I've said to the libraries, say to the library staff as well. Tell us if you're running short. We'll always restock. But in terms of a new supply, residents will be getting delivered blue and white sacks before Christmas. James, can you give us any more detail, or will we just leave it gloriously vague for the moment? So it'll be a great surprise to our residents.
Thank you, Councillor. Distribution begins beginning of October. Every house in the borough will receive an extra delivery in time for Christmas and the busy season for our waste and recycling collection crews.
There you go. Yet more good news. What can you do?
Very good. I noticed you didn't want to opine on whether the leader or the cabinet member was right, but that was fine. Members, the recommendations are for noting. Consider them noted. Agenda item 19 is the grounds maintenance update. Councillor McGowan.
It's me again. We said some time ago we wanted to bring back the grounds maintenance contract in-house, and we're making good on that pledge. I'm delighted to say thank you. The process begins April 2026 with a sensible phased approach to ensure that a decent service is provided during a short transitional period. By October 2026, a full transfer will have taken place and the whole service will be in-house. We believe these measures will improve service quality, enhance operational control and improve service to residents, bringing back more pride in where they live, which is what we're all about. If you look at page 241, I can't read where I'm writing here, of the report, it talks about the risk of pushing changes and importance of a phased approach. Obviously, in an ideal world, it would all come in-house in April 2026, but there are distinct dangers with this. Think about it, April, May, grass cutting, etc. It's quite obvious why it makes more sense to phase it so that we've got a proper handover. And we also need full delivery of vehicles to make this possible, otherwise there's in danger of not delivering on the service properly. We need proper staff training prior to peak season and more technological support. All this can be done with no further resources required. So good news is we start the process April 2026. By October 2026, the process is finished and the whole grounds maintenance contract is in-house. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes, do you have any questions? Members of the committee, do you have any questions? In which case, the recommendations are on page 262. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is unanimous. We now need to take a vote on entering into part 2 to protect the council commercially. All those in favour of entering into part 2, please show. Thank you. Can I ask that the webcasting is turned off? Thank you.